All right, let's talk about PrizePicks and why you are losing at PrizePicks and try to help you guys with turning those losses into wins. And if you're unfamiliar with PrizePicks, it is one of the hottest games going right now for good reason. One, because it's offered in states that don't offer sports betting. So if you are in a state where it's illegal to sports bet, it's probably legal to place PrizePicks, especially if they have daily fantasy sports being legalized in that state, because PrizePicks is considered daily fantasy sports because we're only wagering on player outcomes. In other words, we're wagering on props, and you have to parlay these props. So you must win either 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6-leg parlays on prop bets in order to win money. We'll get into that more as we go. If you're not currently on PrizePicks and you want to just try it out, I'll have a link down below. Or if you're watching this in the app, there will be a link in the article. And again, guys, this is the Sharp App account that you're looking at on YouTube or inside of the app. If you haven't checked out the app yet, I think you're going to want to after you watch this video. I'm going to go over this new tool that we have for PrizePicks, help you make some better, more profitable picks on PrizePicks. And I want to go over, again, just why it is you guys are losing on PrizePicks. So before jumping in to why I think you guys are losing, let's just take a look at the tool first, and I think then it'll make more sense as we go into why you guys are losing. So I'm going to jump in. This is the website, the Sharp. It's Sharp.app. There'll be a link down below. We also have the same information inside of the app itself. The Sharp app is an app that you can get in the Google Play Store or the App Store, and it's going to help you out with all sorts of sports betting needs that you have, tools, models, great content, expert picks. But this is probably the most exciting thing that we've produced in a while here. And of course, I helped make this tool, so I'm a little bit biased, but I love the concept behind it and the methodology. So let me go over why we built it and exactly what the tool is doing. All right. So I was not a huge PrizePicks player. I didn't play a lot on PrizePicks. I had an account, was kind of dabbling, and it was more for fun. And I just keep seeing the popularity growing. The guys who work here at the Sharp app kept talking about it. And finally I decided, all right, I really need to sit down with PrizePicks, figure this all out. And Kevin, who is also here at the Sharp app, he's our CEO. He loves PrizePicks, kept asking me to take a look at it and figure out what the break-even point was going to be on a 2-leg parlay, 3-leg parlay, so on and so forth. So we went through that process. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then after doing that, I said, there are advantages. People look at PrizePicks, and there's no VIG necessarily on a PrizePick prop. Now, what's a VIG? The VIG is they call it juice or a VIG. That's the money line that you are seeing when you bet a prop at, let's say, DraftKings or FanDuel. So if you're looking at a prop that is over 4.5 on DraftKings, minus 140 and plus 110 on the under. So let's say the over 4.5 is minus 140 and under 4.5 is plus 110. There's a VIG there. There's a juice, right? So the VIG would be whatever the additional percentage added onto the bet if the bet was equal on both sides. So in other words, if I was betting you and we were just buddies at the bar and we were betting on coin flips, and I said, okay, $5 heads to me, $5 tails to you, that would be a no VIG bet. But if I told you, hey, pick heads or tails, I'll book the bet for any amount you want to bet, but you've got to pay me 10% juice on that, right? That would be a minus 110 bet. In other words, if you wanted to bet $5 or you wanted to win $5, you would owe me $5.50 when you guessed wrong, because that's kind of the fee I'm going to take in order to book your bet, because I'm going to give you the option to bet anything you want, and I'll be the liquidity provider. And in order to do that, I'm going to take a fee in order to book those bets for you. So that's kind of the real short, concise idea behind a VIG, and that's how the sports books make their money. So just be assured that every bet you make at the sports book has a VIG. Even most of the boosts, they're boosting them better. There's better odds than necessarily they were giving you before, but don't kid yourself. Most of the boost plays are still being VIG. They're still making money on those plays. Now let's go behind the concept of something called Wisdom of the Crowds. If you haven't read the book, Wisdom of the Crowds, fantastic book. And if you're into sports betting, which you probably are since you're watching this video, you're going to want to learn about Wisdom of the Crowds. Now, just to give you a quick synopsis of the book, it just talks about how the crowd is smarter than any one individual. And we can prove that. The big story that they talk about in the book is at the turn of last century, there was a big fair and they had an ox and they asked people to guess the exact weight of the ox. If you guess the exact weight, you would win the ox. And when they looked at all of the guesses individually, nobody came closer than the average of all the guesses. And because that's taking in a great amount of information, because each one of the people, some may have just looked at it, had no clue, and were just making a guess, but the other people may have had some educated reasons as to why they were guessing. They may have measured the height and the length of the animal and so on and so forth. Everyone had their own methodology, and because you're taking so many people and all their methodologies into account, that average is going to wind up being a lot stronger than any one individual's picks. This works in daily fantasy, fantasy sports, anything where you're projecting. You're going to get a more accurate projection if you take different methodologies, as long as the methodologies are reasonable, right? And people are looking at the sources that you are getting your information from are reasonable. And let's face it, most people who are selling any sort of projections are going to have some sort of an idea as to how to make the projections. And what you're doing is, when you take a average of all of those projections, you're getting the most accurate projections you can. That's the theory behind Fantasy Pros, right? And there's some problems with Fantasy Pros. I'm not going to get into that. But if it was pure, if it worked exactly the way it should be, Fantasy Pros would be a great option to get your fantasy projections, okay? So there are some really good projections out there, no doubt. I do a lot of betting against the props because they're an illiquid market. So when you find illiquid markets, sometimes you can find anomalies and you can beat them. But on the whole, the sportsbook is going to have the best odds. So I say this and I talk about Wisdom of the Crowds because I want to get into the heart of the tool here. And that is, we are looking at the sportsbook projections in order to figure out what the best projection is to play and try and beat PrizePicks. What do I mean by that? Well, the sportsbook has a projection based on the VIG and the juice attached to any given prop. What that means is, if the prop was minus 110 on both sides and it was 4.5, let's say, on this prop, over under, that would mean in all likelihood, depending on the type of prop, I don't want to get too deep into the math, but you're going to be probably right around 4.5 as the projection at that sportsbook, okay? So that means the book thinks, on average, whatever this prop may be is going to happen 4.5. They're going to hit that prop, or the prop number. Let me get the wording right. The actual number. Let's just call it rebounds in basketball, and 4.5 was the number. On average, that player will average 4.5 rebounds in that particular spot in that game against that opponent, so on and so forth. Now, of course, they can't score 4.5 rebounds, so in all likelihood, they're going to get 4 or 5 rebounds in that game. And the further you move away from that projection, the less likelihood it is that the that number is what they hit, right? So 3 and 6 would be less likely than 4 or 5, right? It's kind of like throwing dice. 7 would be the most likely outcome, and then the 6 and the 8, the 5 and the 9, the 4 and the 10. It kind of has if you're looking at a bar chart, it's kind of going to step down. It's going to form a triangle with the 2 and the 12 being on the extremes, as there's only one way to throw each one of those. Kind of works the same way here when we have a projection. The numbers right around that projection are, of course, going to happen more likely. But we can get into more of that in different videos. What I just want to get across to you, though, is we're looking at the projection, the sportsbook projection, and how we come up with that. There are formulas in order to come up with that projection based on the juice. So again, that's more complicated for another time, but we've got that in the system built in. So depending on how the juice moves, and the juice will move all game, all day long, is what the sportsbook is figuring that projection to be. We take the VIG out because, again, what's the VIG? That's just the price that they're adding to the play, right? So what's the probability of a heads or a tails being flipped? It's 50-50. Just because I make the bet minus 110 on either side that you bet does not mean the odds change. It's still a 50-50 bet. That's just my fee for booking your bet, okay? So we take the VIG out of play, and we look at what the actual line, the VIG-less line is, and then from that point, we can figure out what a projection is. We then take that projection, and now we go over to PrizePicks, right, and look at what PrizePicks is showing as their number to beat. We plug in the projection against the number to beat at PrizePicks, and then we can determine statistically how often that number is going to go over or under based on that projection. And then using that percentage and that probability, we can make a more educated plus EV bet on PrizePicks. All right, hopefully that makes sense. As we dive in here, hopefully it'll clear up for you guys a little bit. So firstly, this is today. We're looking at April 14th. So if you're watching this in the future, you can come back and see just how these plays did. But this is April 14th, 2023. And the plays are going to be listed here in green. Anything over 54% is going to be in green. I'm going to get to why that is key in a second. But this tool that you're going to get, we call it the Proptimizer. It's the PrizePick Proptimizer. You get that with a pro membership over at the Sharp app. Again, there'll be a link down below for that. And what this is going to show you is, based on the projections at the sportsbook, exactly what the probability is that the number goes over or under at PrizePicks. So let's take the first one into consideration here. Tyler Wells. These are the actual numbers here. You're looking at what the price is at BetMGM. 4.5 plus 100, under 4.5 minus 130. You look at DraftKings, over 4.5 plus 105, under 4.5 minus 140, right? You could go down the list, so on and so forth here. So just by looking at this and eyeballing it, you could see it's juiced higher on the under. Okay, so we could tell this is probably going to come in, the projection is going to come in under 4.5. Now it comes in after we take the juice out at, when we look up here, 4.45. That's the actual projection. So it's slightly under 4.5. Now, what PrizePicks likes to do is move these games. Sometimes they'll keep the prop at the 4.5. And they probably should have in this case, at least based on the numbers. But right now, it's at 4. And I have not looked at PrizePicks. Sometimes that changed. Actually, I put this in already maybe an hour ago, and I did get the 4. But this will change throughout the course of the day, and you'll see it change on our website and in the app. But they may move this if they keep getting a lot of overs bet on the 4. They'll move this to 4.5. But for now, they move this down to 4. And with a projection that is still lower, right? So the under is being juiced at the sports books, under 4.5. Yet the play to make here, 56.71% of the time, approximately, over 4 is going to hit because we've got a 4.45 calculation. Now, what gets factored in here as well is when they move this to a 4, that means, we talked about it before, right? If we're right around 4.5, the 4 and the 5 are going to be the most likely outcomes. And then the 3 and the 6. But when we hit a 4, we don't lose our bet. We don't win our bet, but we don't lose our bet either. It's called a push. And what will happen is it will knock your parlay down one leg. So if you had a 6-leg parlay, it becomes a 5-leg parlay. All right, so you're still in the game even though you push, which is why the over now becomes more valuable. Now, of course, the projection is over the 4, plus the fact that we don't lose if this hits 4, right? So think about that. The most likely number now to hit is going to be a 5, or at least the most likely number that's going to cause a win or a loss is a 5. So 5 is going to happen more times than 3, and certainly than 2 and 1. So 5 and 6 are going to happen a lot more than 3 and 2. And that 4, which is going to happen slightly more than a 5, is going to be a push. All right. I'm hoping I don't confuse you guys, but that's the logic behind there. And we could go down the list. Again, these aren't huge numbers here. We're not going to hit these. We're going to hit 50, almost 57% of the time. Slightly better than a coin flip. And now we've got to win 5 or 6 of these in order to win our PrizePicks bet. So it's not going to happen often. I'm going to get to the spreadsheet on that in a bit. But you look at Noah Syndergaard. Again, he's got his total strikeout numbers. All the markets that we track here are available. And this is important as well. The more sports books that we have, I would always look at this drop down. The more sports books you have, that means, again, wisdom of the crowds, right? That means more information getting fed into the model, and that's going to let us know slightly more precise where that projection is going to be. Now, you'll see the consensus number here for Syndergaard is plus 101, 4.5, meaning the over 4.5. The Vigless line should be plus 101. So when we take that into account, you're looking at a 4.45. It's very similar here when we round here because plus 102 on the over 4.5 is going to be about 4.45. You're in a similar situation getting the over 4 on Syndergaard. Now, again, for all of these to hit at 57%, if you have 55%, if we can pick 5 of these at 55% chance of winning, we still only have a 5% chance that we win all 5 of these plays. So this is actually lesson number 1. Let's head over to the spreadsheet. And the first thing I want to talk about is you're losing on PrizePicks and probably betting in general for one reason. Well, there's multiple reasons, but one of those reasons is going to be your expectations. Now, that's certainly the case here on PrizePicks. I see it. I've seen people use the tool and day one did not win and said, well, this is useless. I can't use this tool. I didn't win yesterday. You're not going to win all that often. You have to have the mindset that this is a long-term strategy, right? Let's take a look. I did the math here on break even. So kind of look down here, the second part of this spreadsheet, break even levels for the 2-leg power play, 3-leg, 4-leg, so on and so forth. Now you need to hit the win rate, all right, it's going to be easy for me to say. Win rate required on the 2-leg is almost 58%. On the 3-leg power play, 58.51%. If you don't know what the power plays are, that means you have to hit exactly, you must win the 3 legs, you must win 4, you have to win all 4. On the flex options, you can win for 3, you can win 2 out of 3 and get some sort of a payback on that. 4, you win 3 out of 4, you get payback. On the 5, if you win 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, you get paid back as well. And same thing on the 6. So that's why what happens is if you look at the break-even rate, it is lower on this 5 and the 6. It's only 54.25%. Win rate is what you need on the 5 flex and the 6 flex. So those are going to be your best options. Now, why do they do that? They probably do that. PrizePicks is because they are trying to entice you to actually play those because, of course, you're not going to win them as often. But most people also don't have the discipline to play them on a daily basis, multiple ones of these on a daily basis in order to long-term become profitable. Most people won't do that. Most people are going to jump into the 2 and the 3-leg because they need that feeling of winning, right? So it's easier, of course, to hit a 2-leg power play, but you're giving up way more juice and the chances of you winning long-term are much lower. You're going to have to pick 57%. If we go back to what we were just looking at on our Proptimizer, right, you've got now a 56.71% on the baseball plays today. That's our best play. That's not even high enough to win long-term on the 57.81, but it is for the 5 flex and the 6 flex. So the question becomes, do you have the discipline? Are you capable of losing day after day after day in order to eventually make that big hit, and which will over time make up for the losses? Most of you don't, and that is why you guys lose. So reason number 1 why you guys lose: lack of patience, lack of letting it play out, trust of the numbers. You don't do it. You want the quick fix. You want to win right away. And if you lose 1 or 2 days in a row, you throw it out. So and this is going to be most of you listening to this, right? I'm going to get comments down below with the guys telling me that that's not how they play. And I love for those comments because I want other people to see that there are people out there who do have patience. There are people out there struggling the same way that they are. It's hard. Listen, I do this for a living. I've been doing this for a long time. And when you lose time after time after time after time, I play DFS GPPs. You basically lose and get your teeth kicked in night after night after night after night. But the public only sees when I win 50,000 or 100,000, the big paydays, and they go, man, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's great when you win those, but it's the same concept here. Those wins are offsetting all the losses that I had leading up to that point with a slight bit of profit. So if you're not able to handle that volatility, then you can't do this. So you need to be playing for an amount that small. I always, if you refer back, I'll link to all these things down below. But I've got a video in we've got something called the Sharp Academy inside of the Sharp app that you're going to want to check out. Check that video out. And not on break even, but on bankroll management. Check all the videos out. It's going to help you guys. But using proper bankroll management will help with these plays, right? So you want to play for a small amount. I would say play their 10x on the five legs. Now you're going to win. Like I said, you'll get something back if you win 4 out of 5, something back if you win at 3 out of 5. I would play these to win 1 unit. If your unit size is $100, I'd be playing these for $10 a piece on the 5 leg. Okay. So that's how you have to play. I like to play it to win a unit. That's going to keep you in the game long term. Remember, if we get all 55% win rate type plays, we're only going to hit 5 out of 5, 1 out of 20. So once a month or so, you're going to be hitting these. You have to have the discipline to stay in the game. So rule 1 is have the discipline, understand, manage your expectations. And 2 is use proper bankroll management so that they go hand in hand so that you can be in the game long term. Let's just take a look quick. If you're the $100 player, look at this, right? If you're playing the 5 flex and you're a $100 player and you can get this is based on 55% win rate. And we show you we could get a little bit better. We could get some plays like I showed you close to 57%. But let's say you're going to average about 55% on these plays. If you place a $100 bet 100 times, so if you're just doing this once a day for a $100 bet for the next 100 days, you'll be profitable $500. That's not going to break the bank. And most people are going to look at this and say, well, that's not why I'm playing. I'm playing to get rich. Get that thought out of your mind. You're not going to get rich. This is a hobby. This is something you're going to do for fun. And again, if you're only playing $10, cut that in by a tenth, and you're looking at a $50 profit over time. And again, you're going to look and go, well, what am I going to do with $50? Well, that $50 is a whole lot better than the negative hundreds of dollars that you're going to go through by doing this incorrectly. So if you want to have some fun, enjoy the games, and make a small profit, you're going to listen to what I'm telling you. You're going to get the app, and you're going to follow these plays, because over time, the sportsbook gets it right. The sportsbook projections are going to be accurate, and the math is going to lead us to be profitable here. So if you want to now go to the 6 flex, that's going to be even better, but you're going to need even more discipline, because you're going to win on a 55%. You're only going to win 3% of the time. You won't even win maybe once a month, but you've got to, or at least you won't win the 6 out of 6. You need the discipline in order to stay in the game. So bankroll management, discipline, understand, manage your expectations, and then get a tool like we have here at the Sharp app, because that's the only way. Right, this is the only way you're going to get a real good idea mathematically as to what the play should be. Now, you could take this. I'm not telling you to play every one of these plays. Go do your own homework. Look at the plays that you like. Maybe come up with 10 plays that you like, and then refer to this tool and see which ones match what you like. Or maybe there's another source. You've got someone that you follow that touts the games. We've got some great guys with PrizePicks, Mutt and Madness over in at the Sharp app. Fantastic when it comes to PrizePick plays. You could follow those guys and then say, they look at this as well. So they're very rarely are they giving plays that aren't good value, but you could take some of their plays, play them yourself, take some of the plays that you like, and only play the ones that are giving you good value. I promise over time that's going to be successful for you, because you are playing plays that will beat PrizePicks. You just have to be patient. All right, guys, I've gone long enough on this video. Comment down below. Let me know, are we crazy? Do you not understand anything? Do you agree with the concept behind it, the methodology behind it? Love to hear from you guys. And if you want to get this, we can give you some limited access. We are giving away some of these for a limited amount of time here for you guys. And if you're interested in that, you could send an email to support@sharp.app. So support@sharp.app. I'll leave a comment, or I'll leave it in the description, or leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to get you, or we're going to give a limited amount of you guys some access to this so that you can test it out. Let us know what you think, and try it for yourself. So good luck. Any questions? Always happy to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you on the next video.